Hello, everyone. Let's go on the radio now.
Looks so tan, my God.
I do? Yeah. Still? Took a little vacation. But I'm back. All right.
Now, Behind the Law with Justin Clark and Allie Mack on ESPN 580 Orlando.
Welcome to the show. It's another edition of Behind the Law right here on ESPN. I'm all discombobulated, Brianna. OG Brianna is here, but new Brianna now today is not here.
This
it's
is
like
true.
one of you, I can't remember the last time I've had both of you here in the studio with me at the same time. So
Friday.
what is, you were both here on Friday? Never mind. But other than that, it's been a long time since I've had you both here.
This is true.
Anyway, welcome to the program. It is another edition of Behind the Law right here on our favorite sports radio station, ESPN 580 Orlando. My name is Justin Clark. Join us every weeknight at 8 o'clock p.m. Also, 2 television shows this weekend and every weekend for you to check out. Saturday, it is You Have Real Estate with me, attorney Justin Clark, at 12:30 p.m. on CBS. And then Sunday, it is this show, Behind the Law, but it's Behind the Law on television at 10 a.m. on TV 27. You can also follow at Behind the Law Radio on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, any social media platform. You can watch this radio show right there as well. Very special show tonight. We're going to do the news. We're going to talk a lot about the Dominican Republic because I have plenty to say. We'll also play Stump the Clarkie in the second half hour. And throughout the show, a very special interview with a good friend of the show, real estate agent Chris Christensen with Regal Realty Orlando. We're going to talk about the Orlando real estate market. Is now a good time to buy, a good time to sell. It's summertime. Everyone says you got to buy in the summer, sell in the summer. We'll answer those questions. But Brianna, how you been, first of all? Good to see you.
Thank you. You've been great. What about you?
I'm doing well. So you know that I go to the Dominican Republic sometimes, right?
Yes.
And you know that one of my very best friends is half Dominican, and he goes there all of the time,
Yeah,
right?
you just got back.
But my goodness gracious, what is going on down there?
Look,
well, if you're going to go to the Dominican Republic, let's just be very clear. Do not get anything out of the minibar.
First of all.
Whether it's alcoholic or not alcoholic, something is going on
it is
in the mini
hurting
bars
the tourists
down there. And then, after all this, what happens? My man, Big Poppy, is down in his homeland, having a couple of cocktails with a couple of friends.
Oh, man.
And some guy just pulls up on a motorcycle for no apparent reason and shoots him in the back, right?
This is true.
I mean, what is going on down there? Something. Okay, right now, and look, I like the DR. I really do. I like the people in the Dominican Republic. I like to go visit there, as long as there's a direct flight and I don't have to go through Miami. Would you go to the DR right now, Brianna, be honest?
Right now? No.
Okay. And this lady, ladies and gentlemen, goes to countries you never even heard of for missionary work all the time. What are some of the countries you've been to for missionary work?
I'm sure people have heard of El Salvador and Guatemala
Well, we haven't
and
heard
parts
of them.
of India. I'm sure they've heard of them.
We don't know exactly where they're at on a map, but we've heard of them. Where else have you been?
I've been to India.
I've heard of it.
Mission work in Guam.
All sorts of places I'm
yeah.
not sure I really want to go to. But you go there for missionary work, and right now you're
Devastating
telling
little
me
place called New Orleans.
you would not go to the Dominican Republic.
Not to vacation.
I don't know what's up, but this must be hurting tourism quite a bit,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
It's on all the major news sites. For sure. It's going to hurt. It's going to do some damage.
Did you watch any basketball last night, by the way?
Absolutely not.
This is the most strange series I can remember seeing in a long time. So we've got the whole, the Golden State unbeatable Warriors, who are now underdogs, essentially. They were down 3-1 before last night. Then the spread of the game before KD announced he was playing was like Toronto -4. And then KD announced he was playing, and it went to Warriors, I believe, -1. So it's very rare to see a spread move that much. But then the poor guy comes back. I mean, poor guy. Look, I understand. Let's take it under context. But he comes back and plays because I think people were questioning is he just not playing because, he's in a contract year. He's going to be a free agent likely. So he comes back and plays last night. What happens? I mean, by all accounts, he has torn his Achilles tendon, which is not a good injury, especially for a basketball player. It means you're going to be out for at least a year. Mm-hmm. But now he has a couple of different options. Is he going to opt into the final year of his contract and he makes $30-something million? So look, when I say poor guy, I mean it in context, right? Or is he going to be a free agent, which he has the right to do, but someone's going to have to sign him, and he's not going to play for that team for at least the first year? I mean, I don't know why I'm even asking you this, because I know you don't even know what I'm talking about.
Nah.
Do you? Not
Nah.
really.
I kept up with some of it, but then I just, I was like, he's going to be out for a while. I don't care.
Yeah. And then they go on to, I mean, really kind of were fortunate to win the game. They were down at the very end, and then, hit a couple of three threes, really. I think they outscored the Raptors 9-2, and then the Raptors had a good chance to win at the end. Good defensive effort by Draymond Green. And now we're heading to Game 6. But look, I don't think most of us believe that the Warriors have any chance to win this series. And really, you can look to the Raptors. No one really thought the Raptors were this good, but my goodness, I mean, they are pretty good, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, enough of me. It's Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. The moral of the story so far is stay away from the Dominican Republic, or if you're going to go, don't get anything to drink out of the minibar.
And don't eat. Don't breathe.
It's just the strangest stuff. And then
Stay on the plane.
and then you also wonder if maybe there's some things that have happened that we haven't heard about yet, too. So I don't know.
Look, they got the FBI involved. At that point, you already know there's things that we don't know about.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's time to talk a little real estate with a good friend of ours, Chris Christensen. He is with Regal Realty Orlando. Chris, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Justin.
All right. So I know that you don't necessarily specialize in Lake Mary, but you do a lot of work up in Seminole County, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Would you say that's sort of your bread and butter?
My personal area of specialty would be Orange County.
Okay.
So
You're an Orange County guy.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
like Dr. Phillips, Windermere, that area.
I
But
got
we
you.
are building a brand new office right in Lake Mary, which is Seminole County.
As a guy who lives in Lake Mary, it seems like Lake Mary is somewhat similar to Dr. Phillips in a lot of ways, just really far away from each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
What differences do you see for someone who is, maybe starting a family and they're really trying to decide, do I move down to Orange County to the Dr. Phillips area, Windermere area, or do I go up to Seminole County and the whole Lake Mary, Markham Woods corridor? I mean, what are some of the biggest differences you see?
I think it just depends what you're looking for. I mean, if you're down in Orange County, Dr. Phillips, Windermere, that area, you're close to theme parks and things like that. But some people don't, that's not for them. They don't really want to, be that close to all the tourists, all that kind of stuff. So I think Lake Mary gives you a nice break from that. If you want to run down, go to the park and participate in that, you can. But, I think it's a great place to raise a family, kind of whole different atmosphere.
Price per square footage right now, if I'm buying a house, where am I going to get the biggest bang for my buck, would you say? Where should I really be looking if I'm looking to get a good deal?
Depends what you're looking for. I mean, I do think that, comparison Seminole County to Orange County, you get a much better deal in Seminole County. Price per square foot is a lot lower. I think you get a lot more for your money, in Seminole County than you would in Orange County right now.
Everyone talks about the summertime and the summertime buying season, and I don't know if that's a myth or not. I mean, is summertime really a good time to buy and sell a home?
I think it's not as important in Florida. I think in states where you have cold weather and people aren't going to, pack up and move when there's 4 feet of snow on the ground, it's probably more important. But I think, we get our fair share of sales throughout the year. I mean, I will say spring is probably the busiest time of the year for us as realtors. That's when everybody's looking to, get the kids out of school, find a new house, move, get kids into the new school zone, and get things rolling. So spring, I would say anywhere from March until probably end of June is probably the busiest 3-4 months.
When I'm going to buy a home, I mean, I think I have to buy the home in some ways thinking about how it's going to go when I go to sell it, whether it's 5 years, 10 years down the road or whatever. And I think that maybe school system is an important part of that. I mean, how important do you think the school system is when I'm buying a home?
I think it's very important. I mean, even if you don't have kids, I think you want to take it into consideration because from any home that you buy, I think you want to consider it to be a long-term investment. So you want to be able to sell it later. So maybe you don't have children or the schools aren't important to you, but they may be to someone else in the future.
And do you see a lot of the people that you work with as buyers? And I know that you do mostly listings, but when you're working with a buyer, especially a buyer who's looking in that $600,000 to $800,000 range, do you think most of them are going to send their kids to that public school, or most of them thinking private already?
I don't think they're necessarily thinking private immediately, especially if you've got a good school district with A-rated schools. Something I think that they want to consider. I mean, typically they'll go tour the public school system and then also look at what's available for private schools. But I think if you're in a good school district, they're going to at least consider it.
Yeah, I think that we all lived through this volatile market that in 2006 probably was at the peak, and then 2010, 11, 12 was just crushing all of us. And I think there are some people out there who still think that the market is going to tank like it did in 08, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's ask Chris Christensen that question. Right on the other side of this break, it is Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando.
Jazzy elevator music.
Yeah, we still don't have new bumpers.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Oh yeah? Who's we?
Me, the guy who will remain nameless because we're still alive.
Me and the guy.
And this other guy that he's brought in to help. Oh, it's a girl.
And how about Waters? Still working on that too?
You want a LaCroix?
No, I'm good. We normally have Waters in here.
That's not yours? That's not yours?
She gave it to me the other day, but it was already open, so I was like, I don't think it could be from the Dominican.
I assure you that is from Zephyr Hills, Florida.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Now back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, right here on ESPN 580 Orlando.
Welcome back to the show Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Justin Clark here with you as we are at 8 o'clock every night. We follow live, local, loud. Nicky Football, good show tonight. Brianna, how do I get Waters back in here, by the way? We were talking about it during the break, but I think I should bring it up on the air to make you feel pressured.
Of course.
To make sure we have the Justin Clark water bottles in here because, look, I've been working hard all day. Then I have to come do an hour radio show, and yeah, I'm parched.
Maybe somebody's on strike from you opening all these water bottles and leaving them all over the studio.
Well, I wouldn't leave them in the studio, but you hide the garbage can. You know I try to play basketball in here every day, and the garbage can that's supposed to be there, I'm throwing stuff in.
So as you miss,
I can't find it.
it's not like you get them in the trash can anyways.
It's a pretty far shot from here, just so you know.
Okay, so listeners, he maybe 1 out of 10. And then he'll get it, and then you brag.
3, 2, 1. That's enough from you.
The
3,
whole
2,
week.
3, 2, 1, 282 1055. We're talking all things real estate today with a good friend of the show, Chris Christensen. He is with Regal Realty Orlando. Tell me a little bit about Regal Realty, Chris.
Our company, we have a total of 5 offices throughout Central Florida. So we've got office in Dr. Phillips, one in Celebration, one in Winter Park, an office that we just opened in Claremont, and then we've got a new office opening in Lake Mary. We're the exclusive affiliate for Christie's International Real Estate for all of Central Florida.
You know Todd Schub, right?
Yeah.
He's the car guy. He is always bragging about you guys. He says that he says you guys are amazing. I know he works with Mel over in your office too a lot. He says that you guys are awesome. Every time I think he saw you when we did the TV show together, he was immediately reaching out saying those guys are legit. They are really, really legit. So that's
good. It's good to have advocates like that for sure.
And yeah, he didn't. He got nothing out of it. He just was like they're really, really good. So let's talk about the real estate market in general a little bit, because those of us that are at least 30, 32, 35 years old, we lived through this terrible crisis that was 2008, 9, 10. What do you really see the bottom? When was the bottom of the market, would you say?
Yeah, I would probably say 2010, 2009, like that time frame, I think is pretty accurate.
Now, that was obviously a terrible real estate market, terrible economy in general. Do you see any chance that something like that happens again here over the next few years?
I really don't think so. I mean, I think that there were a lot of circumstances that played into that. I think that you had a lot of investors buying real estate. Money was very easy to come by. Lenders were basically, if you could fog a mirror, you could probably get a loan. So I think it was a different market. Now, it's still fairly difficult to get a loan. I mean, they're looking for all the correct qualifications, everything like that. So I really don't think so. I mean, I've been to a couple of conferences in the last year or so where a couple of different economists spoke, and both of them were pretty much in agreement, saying that maybe in the next couple of years we'd see some type of a slowdown, but I don't think a pullback and definitely not a crash.
So I think most people have been calling this a seller's market over the last, 2 years or so at this point. How would you label the market now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a seller's market still, but I do think it's slowing a little bit. I mean, it depends at the price point, but I think at a lot of different price points, we're seeing a little bit of a slowing in the market. But the inventories are still fairly low compared to when the market was not great.
And do you see maybe a further leveling off, or what do you really predict over the next couple of years for those of us that are looking to buy now?
Next couple of years, I mean, I think it'll level off. I mean, maybe 2 years out, you see a slight decline in prices, but I don't think it's going to be anything substantial. I mean, I don't think it's something that I would wait for. You'd probably gain more between now and 2 years from now than you're going to probably lose, in 2 years if the market did take a dip.
So, back in 2006, like you said, if you could fog a mirror, you could get a mortgage. And you could literally be making $10 an hour and get $1 million mortgage. I always say if you have a pulse and a pen, you can get a mortgage, or you say fog a mirror. Same idea.
Yeah.
They were giving away loans. So you have to admit, a lot of this epic financial collapse that we had, at least real estate-wise, was brought on by some of these banks because they were making money lending money, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they really created a lot of this mess. So I don't really have any sympathy for banks, and maybe that's why we represented like 15,000 people going through foreclosure. But then after that happened, the lending guidelines became incredibly strict, virtually not impossible, but it was very hard to get a loan. And I get concerned that maybe some people who are still renting out there right now think that it's still as hard as it was in 2010 and 11. Wouldn't you say that when you work with buyers, it has eased up a little bit? And how does that process really work now when someone's trying to get a loan that you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think it's gotten much better. I mean, it's nothing like you say. I mean, it got so difficult to get a loan at one point in time that everything had to be in perfect alignment to get a mortgage. But I think now that's not the case anymore.
When you, and I know you don't work with renters necessarily, but when you just see the market, I mean, you have a very good pulse of what's going on in the market. If someone is thinking about continuing to rent versus purchasing, when you see the prices for rental versus what a mortgage payment would be, how do they compare?
I think rental prices right now are extremely high. I mean, there's a limited amount of inventory out there for rentals. I mean, you see things rent extremely fast. I mean, so a lot of people are missing out on places that they really, have an interest in. I mean, I would definitely encourage people to, go out there and sit down and really look at, can I afford to buy a house and build some equity rather than just throwing money away on rent.
Gotcha. I totally agree. I mean, if you're buying the same house versus renting it, you're almost guaranteed to pay less in your mortgage than you are for rent right now. The rental market's great for landlords. You know what I mean? It's a tremendous market for landlords. For renters, it is really not a great market. So I'm serious. If you're a renter, even if you had a bankruptcy or you had a foreclosure, don't think that, you've got to wait 10 years or 7 years like you used to hear. I mean, there are programs that are allowing most people with decent credit now to qualify for a mortgage. And the rates right now are just historically low. I mean, they are historically low.
Yeah, the rates are phenomenal. And I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, we've got clients that, back in the day had some difficulties, and maybe we helped through a short sale, and now they're already back into a house with a mortgage. Yeah. So you just never know, what the situation's going to end up being.
When you're working with one of your sellers, right? So you're the listing agent on a deal, and someone comes to present an offer to you. What am I really looking for? Because I might have an offer for the same amount from 2 or 3 different people. I mean, what are some of the things that separate similar offers from one another?
Yeah, I mean, when you're working with a seller, you always want to review all the offers, and you want to look at, which offer has the highest probability to close. So if you have 3 buyers, for instance, and one is maybe an FHA financing with a minimum down payment, one is a conventional financing with 20% down, and then you've got a cash buyer, you're going to weigh that out and say, well, chances are the cash buyer is going to be able to close, and we're not going to have to go through appraisals and things like that.
Right.
So you may lean more towards, that cash buyer.
And is cash, if someone says they're paying cash, does that make a huge difference in your valuation of the buyer?
Not really. I mean, I think, you want to look at what's the offer? You know, I mean, if they're paying cash but they expect a good deal and they're offering substantially less, if you've got a really good qualified buyer that's putting down a good amount of down payment, I mean, you know, you'd want to get as much out of the house as you can.
Let's say that I am a seller and I'm selling my property, and someone comes in and makes a full price offer. Let's say it's $600,000, right? What is the typical time from the moment that I sign that contract until actual closing? And what are some of the things that you see sometimes get in the way and make it not close?
So typical time frame is probably 30 to 45 days. Probably the two biggest hurdles that you have to look out for first would be inspections. So they're going to, you know, hire a licensed inspector and inspect the home and make sure there's nothing wrong with it. So that's a possibility for the deal to fall through. And then the next would probably be appraisal. So an appraiser is going to come out and appraise the value of the property. It has to appraise for what the purchase price is for the deal to go through. And then the last would be just, you know, the buyer qualifying for the mortgage.
Yeah. So what does happen in that situation? So I'm asking $600,000. Someone comes in and offers $600,000. They want to pay $600,000, but the appraisal comes in at $560,000. What are my options as a seller at that point?
Well, at that point, everything's back up for negotiation. So a lot of different things can happen. The buyer could just put an additional $40,000 down. Obviously, they probably don't want to do that. They're going to look at this independent appraisal and say, you know, this is what I feel the value of the home is worth. The seller could take less for the house. They could go ahead and take $560,000. Or what normally happens is you compromise somewhere in between. Maybe the seller comes down $20,000, the buyer pitches in another $20,000, and then you put the deal together.
That's what normally happens, you would say?
Yeah, I would say most of the time.
And so let's say that I don't want to compromise as a seller. What do I have to do? Just go find a brand new buyer and start from scratch, essentially?
Yeah, you could find a brand new buyer, start from scratch. I mean, we have had situations too where, you know, we recommend to the buyer's agent that, you know, maybe they try another lender and get another appraisal. And we've had situations where a house maybe appraises, you know, $40,000 less than the purchase contract price, and then, you know, a week later you get another appraisal and it appraises at full contract price.
Yeah, unbelievable. Chris Christensen joins us. We have another half hour ahead on the other side of this break. We're going to play Stump the Clark, and we'll answer your questions, everything about real estate, right here on ESPN 580 Orlando. I'm the worst with the clock. Someone's got you probably need to get something where I'm not in charge of always
Digital
keeping,
clock counting
Yeah,
down.
I always keep the clock, and it's kind of important, and I kind of screw that up quite often. All right, so now we're gonna play a little game. Do you have a card?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got one. Oh, a marker here, okay. What are we gonna do with the marker?
She's gonna ask questions, and we're going to write down all four answers, and we'll go back and see who won. It'll definitely be real estate related, I assure you. She likes to see me lose. She likes to beat me, but she can't play today because she's got to be the asker. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Now back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, right here on ESPN 580 Orlando.
What is so funny? It's like, why are you laughing at me?
I'm not laughing at, well, maybe I am.
Oh.
I just realized Brianna switched chairs.
Oh, yeah.
She has the better chair.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You mean from me?
Yeah.
She took my chair?
Look at it.
Where is this new Brianna? And bring her to me. Justin
This is perfect.
Justin Clark here with you for another edition of Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. We have Chris Christensen joining us today with Regal Realty Orlando. He's a real estate agent in town. He's going to answer all of your questions. Chris, first of all, how do I reach out to you? If I'm looking to buy or sell a house, how do I reach out directly to you?
You can visit our website. It's www.regalrealtyorlando.com, or, you know, call one of our offices. Again, if you go to the website, you can get the phone number for any of our 5 offices.
And I thought you were laughing, Brianna, because I didn't start the clock again, and we were just talking.
you
So here's the deal, guys. I have to keep time. You know, this is a radio show, so we have to go to a commercial break at a certain time, and I'm the one that keeps that time, and I'm the one that stinks at it. And I thought you looked at my phone and you were like, ha 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 ha. But no, you were just looking that someone stole my darn chair. How did she steal my chair? When would she do that?
I don't even know, honestly.
This is my law firm, my radio station.
I'd have to go
radio
back
studio.
and and look at the videos and see.
Unbelievable. If you have any questions, 321-282-1055. 2 television shows to watch this weekend, Saturday, 12:30 p.m. on CBS. It is You Have Real Estate with me, attorney Justin Clark. And then Sunday morning at 10 a.m. on TV 27, it is this show, Behind the Law, but it's Behind the Law on television. And also, don't forget, you can follow us and watch the show every single day at Behind the Law Radio on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. OG Brianna joins me today. Hello, Brianna.
Hey, Justin.
New Brianna is not here today, and she's stolen my chair. I didn't notice she stole my chair. I really didn't even notice. But
probably why she
trust
did
me,
it.
She'll be hearing about it tomorrow in this program. If I were you, I would join us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock p.m., where I bash her for stealing my chair. I didn't notice, but thanks for pointing it out. All right, so Chris is going to play a little game with me called Stump the Clarky. She's going to ask us 4 questions, right? Don't be scared. She likes to come up with questions that you're going to know the answers to, so you can hopefully beat me in Stump the Clarky, and she likes to see me lose, which is weird. I mean, you would think you'd support me, but she doesn't really support me. Here we go.
All right, and now it's time for Stop the Clarky. Come on, Clarky. We need you to get over here. We've got some great trivia questions we want you to answer. Come on, Clarky. Get over here.
Dare I ask, OG Brianna, what is said category today?
It is all about real estate.
No, wow, unbelievable.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, let's play this game.
So, question number 1, how much is the most expensive home in Orlando?
Like
Expensive
listed?
home sold or listed?
Yeah.
Listed.
See? Okay. I think he's
You
going to
see
know
how
this because it's
polite
down
he asked
near-
me this follow-up question,
It's
and
down-
you hopped on me like a gorilla. Jeez.
I think he's going to know it.
He
but
might.
I don't know. I think it was like crazy. But crazy for Orlando crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Not
This
gonna
would be
lie.
a bargain in Los Angeles.
I wouldn't pay this much for a home, but, you know.
And I think it's a sports guy.
According, perhaps, maybe. I'm not going to lead you to figure
But I think
out
I
which
went
one
too
it is.
high. All right, question number 2.
Question 2, what is the average American home size in square feet?
Ooh.
It's the average
wow.
American.
I wonder if that includes like apartments and condos and things.
Justin, just write down a number. What is the average American?
I'm gonna say this, but
it said house.
I'm gonna preface it with I think we're considering condos.
Okay, fine. Fine.
It's always tough to play trivia, Chris, against a lawyer because you know I've got like so many questions and they get mad at me for just answer the question, Clark.
He picks apart everything. Clarky does not like to be stumped. Question number 3. How many homes sell every day in the U.S.?
Ooh, wow.
How many homes sell every day in the U.S.? And question number 4. The New York Times recently estimated the value of the land in Central Park in New York City.
Wow.
What was the value of that land?
Oh, jeez.
I think it's a big number.
It's pretty large. Central Park is pretty large. It's like 80-something acres.
It is so big, but then when you see it from overhead, it's even bigger. You're like,
True.
this is like the biggest park
That's
in the
very-
world.
It's very, very large. And you also have to take into consideration where it is.
Yeah. You mean in the middle of Manhattan?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure that influenced the price a little bit.
All right, let's score this game. If you want to play along at home, go to Behind the Law Radio. It is Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Justin Clark here talking to Chris Christensen with Regal Realty Orlando. All right, let's score this game. Brianna, please go ahead.
Question 1. How much is the most expensive house in Orlando?
For some reason, Chris, I feel like you're going to have this one right on the money. What did you say?
26 million.
I went with 30 million.
Jeez.
What's the right answer?
28 million.
Oh, so we tied, I
You guys
believe,
tied
right?
on that
All right,
one.
we'll both
Yeah.
take a point.
That was
1
close.
to 1. Whose house is it? Is it Johnny Damon? No.
No. It's
What?
I don't know. It's on the article I clicked away.
Right? You remember Johnny Damon's house down
Yeah,
there
I
was
remember.
was a big one, and then there was Shaq's house down there. That was a big one.
Shaq's house is still on the market.
Is it?
wasn't
How much was
Shaq's
that one?
house,
Do you know?
I don't know. It keeps, for some reason, declining in value.
I wonder why.
Yeah, that indoor gym's not doing it.
No.
Indoor basketball court, I mean. All right,
Goodness
so it's
gracious.
1-1. We tied. All right, question number 2.
Question 2. What is the average American house size in square feet?
This is one where I think the questioner might not have done such a good job, Chris,
we
because
go.
we don't know if this is single family residence or condo, apartment. We just don't know. But I sort of took all that into account and went with 1,700 square feet. Chris, what did you say?
I went slightly larger, 2,000 square feet.
What is the right answer?
It's 2,100 square feet.
Oh, Chris
Ooh.
pulls ahead. Good job. It is 2-1. Chris Christensen is beating me today in Stump the Clarky. All right. Question 3.
How many homes sell every day in the U.S.?
Chris, we'll go back to you on this one. This is a tough one. I think we have what? How many homes a month in Central Florida? Like 2,500 typical is sort
Yeah,
of what we
something
sell
like
per
that.
month in
something
Central
like
Florida, somewhere around there. So we're talking about per day, but nationwide. What
Nationwide.
did you say?
200,000.
200,000. I went way less with 3,000.
Jesus.
3,000?
Yeah. What's the right answer?
How did you come up to that answer, though?
Because I was kind of comparing it to, well, we do that many in a month here in Orlando. Maybe that's kind of like what we do per day nationwide.
Interesting. It's 14,000.
Okay, so I think I get that one
Yeah,
anyway,
you got
right?
that one.
So I thought I was a little low, but I was trying to compare it based on what we do per month in
I
Orlando.
think I didn't get the per day.
No, okay.
I think that's what threw me off.
Strange.
Look, we can blame her anytime you want. She takes it.
It's
She
fine.
takes it well.
I do. I'm okay.
All right, so
It's
it's
good to
2-2.
have someone like that.
It's 2. She loves me. It's 2-2.
No, I don't.
Hey, come on. 2-2 going into a final question for
Final
a
question.
Tuesday night edition of Stump the Clarky right here on Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Brianna, what was the question?
So, the New York Times recently estimated the value of the land in Central Park. What was that value?
So, I think I might be low,
Let's see.
but I know I'm low. I'm going to lose. What an idiot.
Let's hear it.
I said 80 billion, and I know it's way more than that. Chris, what did you
A
say?
little bit.
I said 200 billion.
Yeah, you're right. You're going to win. Here, hold on. Don't give me the answer. I just want to give you the victory. All right, congratulations.
Can you get like the buzzer for your answer?
I know. Is it a trillion?
No, it's
what is it?
512 billion.
Yeah.
Wow.
I kind of wanted to go with 800 billion. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Chris, congratulations. Well played today. So
Awesome.
so Central Park is worth 500 what?
512 billion.
That's a pretty big number, huh? Now, do you think that New York City will ever do anything with that? Probably not, right?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, that's a lot of green space, but there's a lot of people in New York too.
Honestly,
so maybe it's worth it. I don't know. We'll see. Chris Christensen, thank you for playing.
Okay, folks, thank you so much for being with us. Clarky, let's get out of here, buddy. My stomach thinks my throat's cut. I'm starving.
So we were talking a little bit, Chris, about some of the issues that happen between contract and closing, because I think Celebration Day, whether you're a buyer or seller, really is not the day of going into contract, because there are so many things that can happen between the day you sign the contract and the actual closing. Closing is an important day for a lot of people. The seller's going to get a big check, typically. The buyer's going to find their dream home. Hopefully, we're all getting paid, whether it's title or real estate or mortgage. So it is an important day. But we were talking before about appraisals a little bit. And when the appraisal comes in low, it really can prevent the buyer from going forward with closing, because the lender's not going to lend that much money.
Right,
So the
exactly.
buyer's going to have to come in and chip in more money, or the seller's going to have to take a lower price. When you've seen a seller say, you know what, there's no way I'm not taking less, I'm just going to go back to market and find a new buyer. Do you typically find that appraisal later will come in higher, or do you typically find that it's kind of going to be very similar?
I always caution the seller against taking that approach and just saying, forget it. If you've got a buyer in hand that is, in love with the home, wants to buy it, let's try to work together and try to figure out a solution, because I've seen too many times where someone says, oh, forget it, let's go find another buyer. And next thing you know, we're 6 months down the road and we've got the house listed for less than the appraisal was on the previous buyer.
Yeah, and a bird in the hand, is that the old saying
Yeah.
too? You know what I mean? You don't want to get too greedy. All right, Chris Christensen, one more segment ahead. All things real estate on Behind the Law. All right, what have I missed so far? What big picture stuff have I missed, guys? We got 10 more minutes to talk about whatever you want.
10 more minutes.
Chris is like, there's nothing else.
Oh, I have plenty. I just didn't know if I was missing any big picture stuff. All right, we're ready.
Let's do it.
Now back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, right here on ESPN 580 Orlando.
One final segment ahead of Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Justin Clark here with you, talking to Chris Christensen. He is with Regal Realty Orlando, excellent real estate agent here in town. Talk to me a little bit, Chris, about that relationship between realtor or real estate agent or broker and customer, whether it's a buyer or a seller. And because, look, you go to Publix, you know, and you go put your shopping cart out there and you say nice pleasantries to the person at the cash register. You know, that's good. That's quick. When you're a real estate agent, I mean, you're really kind of getting to know these people. Describe that relationship.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, whether it's a buyer or a seller, I mean, you really get to know them, get to know their family. I mean, at times you're marriage counselor, psychologist. I mean, you wear a lot of hats in this business.
And do you have, I mean, it is a very emotionally charged event, you know, is it more emotionally charged for the buyer or seller, would you say? Because I see both.
I think it's equal on both. I mean, it's definitely a very emotional time for both the buyer and the seller.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes people just want to call and talk about not necessarily anything to do with the transaction.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me a little bit about being a real estate agent and the lifestyle that you have, because there's certainly a faction of people out there who think that real estate agents don't work that hard. It's a cushy job. You just go show a couple of houses on Saturday and you have the rest of the week off. What is it really like being a real estate agent?
Well, my background originally is engineering.
Okay.
And I got into it because I thought I'd have all this extra time. We were going to have kids and I would have all this spare time to do things. But, you know, it's definitely not that. I mean, the one, you know, I think negative about our job is it's 24/7. I mean, I'm on the phone counseling people 10, 11 o'clock at night, you know, up early in the morning, answering emails. And, you know, too often, you know, we're out 8, 9 o'clock at night showing houses. I mean, a lot of people want to see houses after they get off of work. They want to see houses on the weekends. And for that reason, you know, it's a 24/7 job.
I had a buddy of mine I was talking to the other day. He's a pilot with Southwest, and he said, and I will never forgive him for this. He said, "Yeah, I know, Justin, every time I land that plane back at OIA or MCO, I never think about it again. I don't think about work till 3-4 days down the road when I get back to the airport. It doesn't even cross my mind." And I was like, you prick.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Because in my line of work, it's nonstop,
Yeah.
like 24/7. And I have so many friends in real estate as well. And I see you. You're constantly like me on your phone. It's a nonstop type of thing. With that being said, people must come up to you all the time and say, you know, my son or my daughter or my cousin is thinking about taking that exam, taking the real estate exam. Do you recommend it?
Depends on the person.
What do you looking for?
Actually, our next door neighbor at Dr. Phillips' office from the hair salon stopped over and said that she saw a Groupon coupon for real estate license and
good.
asked me if she should get a real estate
Sure.
license. But you know, I really think it requires a certain personality type. I mean, you really have to be a people person. You know, you have to be willing to work long hours. It's not something you can just shut it down at 5 o'clock and everyone's going to be okay with that,
Right.
because you know there are situations that come up that you know require attention after hours.
I mean, I think there are a lot of analogies in what you do and what I do, and you know, I represent consumers at the law firm. We don't represent big businesses. We typically are working with consumers who are going through a stressful, difficult time. And while real estate's not necessarily difficult, it is stressful. I mean, it really is, and you have to always be you're half counselor, half lawyer, half all sorts of different things.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it really is, and it's a 24/7 type of thing. So I know that you guys and gals out there in real estate are working very hard, but I don't think everyone's cut out for it either. I mean, I really don't. You got to go in and work. I mean, when you do start in the real estate business, when you're telling someone, okay, look, here's what you should do, how long do you think it is before you really start making money, making a real profit?
Yeah, I mean, being the broker for the office, I mean, I see a lot of people that walk in the door that have just gotten a real estate license and, you know, want to get started. And I tell everybody, you know, plan on at least the first 6 months, maybe even a year. you're not going to make anything. Be lucky to break even because you have to spend some money to market yourself and get yourself out there. I mean, you're an independent contractor, so you're kind of starting your own business, and it's going to take time to build a clientele and build that business.
Got it. I know that some of the things that you guys do over at your agency is something that maybe everywhere doesn't do. You spend a lot of money, time, energy on marketing the listings that you have. What are some of the things that you guys do marketing-wise for your listings that really separates Regal from some other shops out there?
Sure. I mean, one big thing that we just launched was our own magazine. So we do our own publication for the office, promoting just our office listings, and we direct mail that out to about 5,000 households in Central Florida. So, I mean, I think that's a big aspect. We're also very big on technology and social media marketing, so we really work with our agents to kind of train them to market their properties through social media.
Got it. It's Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Justin Clark here talking to Chris Christensen. He's a realtor here in town. I think we all are fairly aware of Orlando's becoming an international city, in that we have a lot of investors from South America, a lot of Brazilians I know coming up here. A lot of people down in Disney from England and those types of areas too. How does the international buyer affect the real estate market here in Central Florida?
Well, I think one thing about our markets, it's very segmented. And I actually just heard a statistic. I think 2020, they're hoping for 100 million visitors here in Central Florida.
Wow.
But our market, for instance, like we talked about, Seminole County, Lake Mary, things like that, you'd probably find less tourists there as opposed to, down near the parks, Kissimmee, that area where properties are zoned for short-term rental. Someone can maybe buy a home, stay in it for a couple months out of the year, and then rent it out when they're not there.
Yeah. I mean, do you work with a lot of investors, or do you see a lot of investors, and what are they looking for? Is an investor looking to come in, an investor from overseas, let's say? Are they looking at a place that they can rent weekly? Are they looking at a place that they can kind of use for a month at a time? Or what is an investor from overseas really looking for in a property here typically?
It really depends on the investor. I mean, I've met people that are looking for that income. So when they're not there, they're going to hire a management company. They're going to rent the property out, on a weekly basis, and they're going to generate some income to cover their expenses on the home. And I've got other investors too that are just looking to park money. So they just want to bring their money here to the U.S. They want to invest it in a property. They don't want anybody else staying in the property when they're not there, and it's just going to sit, and they're going to build equity through appreciation and value.
Sometimes I see, and we do a lot of work over in Volusia County, and a lot of the condos over there will have prohibitions through the HOA of rental, or you can only rent it to one person every 6 months or something like that. I know you see a lot of the houses and work a lot near that Disney area. Are there a lot of rules and regulations with HOAs against rentals down there? Or is that not something you see a lot?
Not so much down there, but if you try to do that short-term rental anyplace else, you try to go further up in Orange County, you're going to find all kinds of trouble because HOA is going to, stop you almost immediately from short-term rental. But most of the properties down along that 192 corridor down there, they have the short-term rental zoning, and all of the HOAs are set up to accept short-term rental.
What do you see most of your international clients do for rentals? In that, are they using Airbnb, or how are they marketing rentals?
Most people that try to do it themselves are setting themselves up for failure. You're better off to get a management company, someone that's good at promoting it, good at lining up tenants, can take care of the property when you're not there. Trying to manage it long distance becomes really difficult. I do see some local people that own investment properties, so they may live in one place in Central Florida, but they've got a short-term rental home, down near that tourist attraction area, and rent it out short-term and manage it themselves. And they use Airbnb and VRBO websites like that.
Do you see any way that the vacation market here is ever going to slow down with Disney? And it just seems like a really good place to invest in a rental home, right?
Yeah, I honestly don't think it's going to slow down. I mean, if you look around you, they're building new hotels constantly. There's a huge refurbishment going on International Drive. And every single year, it seems like more and more tourists are coming and visiting Orlando.
Got it. Chris Christensen, he is with Regal Realty Orlando. Chris, one more time, if I want to list my home with you guys, what separates you, and how do I reach out?
I think the biggest thing that separates us is, as a company, we really only hire experienced agents, agents that have been doing it for many years. We do a lot of marketing for our properties. We have experts in all different areas of Central Florida. If anybody wants to reach out to us, our website is www.regalrealtyorlando.com.
Good job. Thank you. Good to see you again. We've done TV now, radio.
Yeah,
What,
yeah.
book next?
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Chris Christensen, thanks for joining us today for the beautiful Brianna. I can say that again, right?
You can.
It's Justin Clark, and I don't know much, Brianna, but I do know one little thing.
What's that?
I'll see you right back here tomorrow night on ESPN 580 Orlando. All right. Thanks for watching.